Hey guys, welcome back. You are flying through these videos, so way to keep leaning in, getting better, learning what you're doing, because it is going to be such a blessing for so many people, and I believe in your own life too, as God uses you powerfully and seeing his kingdom grow and expand in this world. Today I want to talk about how do you have a really great first meeting. We often say that you never get two chances to make a first impression, and that's true. And so making sure that that first meeting goes great is pretty important. I want to start by relating a story about a terrible experience I once had. When my eldest daughter was going to kindergarten, so it's kind of our first entry into the public school system. In the summer, a party was arranged. It was supposed to happen in a park for all the kids in her class to come. The parents could be there. We kind of meet each other. The kids could begin to get comfortable with one another. This seemed like a great idea. So we'd cleared out our day. We're going to go to that. But day of, there was an unexpected rainstorm. And so we got a last-minute email saying the party had been moved to a house, and they gave us the address. And so we showed up there instead. So we show up, we're walking in, there's a couple kids playing on the front yard, and two parents out there. And so my wife and I walk up with our two kids and say, hi, we're Chris and Lindsay Sturgeon, this is Nora, she's in the class. Do you live here? And they both kind of just like looked at us like, no. And they said nothing else. Like, all right. So we walk up to the front door, and it's kind of cracked open. So we push it open, and there's no one there. No one greets us, but we do see there's a huge pile of shoes on the floor, so we assume this is a house where we take our shoes off. So we take those off, and I come around to a corner, guys, and there's a large living room full of a bunch of very small clusters of people and almost no sound. People just seem uncomfortable. It took us about 25 minutes to even find out who lived in this house. Some people had name tags, but we didn't know where those were. We didn't know where to be. We didn't know what to do. We didn't know who to introduce our daughter to. And it was pretty apparent that almost everyone in this house felt the same way. We hadn't been greeted. Nobody had helped us understand what to do, where to be, what comes next. And it had created this really terrible environment. It's one of the most uncomfortable places I've ever been. I tend to do okay when it comes to just talking to new people and striking up a conversation, and it was just like nothing stuck in this place. Very little intentionality or thought had been put into how do we help this go well, and it showed. And I don't want to have that happen at your group. So here are 5 things that you can do on meeting number 1 to help it be a really, really great first meeting. So here's the first one. Communicate beforehand and do it more than you think you should. Send emails or texts make sure everyone knows really clearly, this is the address. This is the time to be there. This is the time it will be over. This is what we are going to study. This is what we will do in that time. You want to make sure that everybody has more information than they need. Because from the very beginning, you want to be helping people feel comfortable, and we feel comfortable when we know what to expect. So go overboard in what you communicate, and in those things, really let people know how excited you are to get this group going, how pumped you are that they're going to be there. If they feel like somebody really wants me there, it makes it a lot easier to walk through a door for the first time. So number 2, make sure, and this one is so important and it's such a little thing, make sure you are always the first one there. No one wants to show up feeling a little insecure already and find that there's nothing, there's no one there. They begin to think, did I get the time wrong? Did I get the day wrong? Is this the wrong place? You need to be the first one there, because everybody who walks in should be greeted with a really big smile and somebody who is happy to see them there, who can then explain, this is where the snacks are, this is where we sit, this is how this is going to go. You want to stop that bleeding of insecurity as soon as you can. And you can do that the second somebody walks into a place. And here's a little pro tip for you if you want to try it. If you have a friend who's in the group, somebody you already know, have her come with you early. That way, nobody who's new has to be the first person to arrive. We've all had that feeling. You hate it when you walk into a party and you're the first one there and you're just kind of standing around awkwardly waiting for something to happen. If you can arrange to have someone come with you so that people are invited into a pair or even 3 or 4 people, so much the better for that person and the experience that they're going to have. All right, number 3. Use name tags. and keep using name tags and be thoughtful about how we are going to do introductions in the beginning. So it's easy to laugh about name tags and they seem kind of lame, but I guarantee you every one of you has had this experience that I've had a million times. I meet somebody new, I say, "What's your name?" And for about 2.5 seconds, my brain turns off. I feel like when I ask somebody what their name is, I've never listened less to any answer to a question than that. I'm so embarrassed by it often that I ask somebody their name and I just immediately don't know it. That happens to all of us. So put on name tags and keep using them until it becomes a joke, until it's so obvious that everyone here knows everyone else's name and these things are extra. Do it for another month after that. Like, keep wearing the name tags. People are so much more at ease when they know they can address the person by name. What you can find is that in a group, if there's somebody in the group and I can't remember his name, I'm just not going to talk to him. And that's a problem. As we're trying to build connection with these people, just put a name tag on. It takes off a ton of pressure. And on that first day, be really thoughtful about how are we going to get to know each other. And so I know your name, but I need to know something else about you. And this is where icebreaker questions come in. And guys, listen, I know a lot of them are silly and you can kind of roll your eyes, but there is a reason that we use them in almost every atmosphere. And it's because they work. I do like to come up with some different questions. So, it used to be like, what was your favorite childhood cartoon? And while that will get people talking and you'll start to relate on your childhood a little bit, I prefer something with a little spicier. And so my favorite one right now is to ask somebody, tell me your first kiss story. You want to talk about people starting to blush, see people starting to open up, giving you opportunities to laugh together, ask that question. Your resource has a few other questions that you can try kind of along that line, but be thoughtful about those and be ready with a good one. Okay, number 4, we want to always have a purpose for our meeting and a structure to our meeting. And you want to make sure that everyone in your group knows what those two things are. So you're going to talk about the very first time and you're going to agree together on this is what we hope to accomplish in this group. That's your purpose. And you want people to understand this is how the time is going to be broken down. This is what I can expect the structure of our meetings to look like. And one really powerful way to do that, because it is going to involve transitioning from one thing to the next, and that can be uncomfortable sometimes because you feel like you have to cut people off. My group right now, this is the structure we use. The first 15 minutes, we meet in a coffee shop. So the first 15 minutes, we're getting our coffee and we're chatting and we're just kind of checking in. And then at 6:15 in the morning, we open our Bibles and we're going to read our Bibles from 6:15 to 7. We get 45 minutes that we know we're going to be in our book, reading through it, talking about what Jesus might be inviting us into out of that. And then right at 7 o'clock, we're going to shut our Bibles and we're going to share our prayer requests for the week and pray for each other. Now, it can get really awkward to feel like I have to cut somebody off when they're in the middle of something. And so this is what we do. Set a timer on your phone. That way it's not you, there's a third party, and it's not even a human. And that person is saying it's going off. One kind of fun thing that you can try is choose a song that represents your group. My friend Janie, who for years led a number of core groups for college students at CU, it was always Beyonce. So when the alarm went off, it was Beyonce singing. She would just say, when Beyonce says so, we got to close our Bibles and it's time to pray for each other. But that became a part of group culture. So they all knew it. They all waited for it. It's something that held them together that they shared in common. But I cannot encourage enough using a timer that way. It will help you stay on track. It'll help you keep to that structure, and it'll help you accomplish everything that you want to accomplish in your group. All right, here's the last thing. On your first meeting, you absolutely should create what we'll call a covenant or some group standards, some things that you all agree upon. This is so important. I even encourage you to write these things down and have people sign it, saying that I agree to this. There are a couple things that have to be on that. Maybe the most important one is confidentiality. We have to agree that our core groups are a place that we can share really hard and sensitive things and trust that it's not going to get out, that other people aren't going to hear about it. We need people in our life with whom we can share, who we know will support us in prayer without having to worry about who else is going to hear about that. Some other things that I really encourage is to have a rule against fixing. When somebody shares something, it's not the group's job to immediately chime in and tell them how to do it better or how to get fixed. We want to be able to hear the tension that people are in, hold that with them, come alongside them in it, But the second people start hopping in and trying to fix all your problems, you'll stop sharing your problems. So that's a great rule to have. Having a covenant on there about our use of time, like we are committed to each other, which means I'm going to try not to monopolize. I know this is the amount of time we have for this, and I want everyone to have a chance. You can make a covenant about attendance, saying like this: I commit to make this a priority in my life, to be there, to be honest, to be vulnerable. There's any number of things that you can have, and I actually encourage the group to talk out loud together about what do we want to commit to, write them down, and sign it. Having a covenant is incredibly important. And guys, listen, if you get only those 5 things done in a meeting, that is a great first meeting that's going to set a foundation for you to have a fantastic group going into the future. So good luck with that. Know that we are always praying for you guys and praying for those first meetings, that they will be the sort of thing that when you close that door for the last time, you are stoked and excited about what happened and can't wait for the next one.